Good evening, everyone. It's Wednesday, April 12th. This is the Board of Commissioners meeting for Madeira Beach. Welcome, everyone. City Clerk, will you call the roll?
Mayor Rostick,
Present.
Commissioner Taglerini,
Here.
Commissioner Kerr,
Here.
McGeehan,
Here.
Commissioner Brooks. Here. All were present.
Would you like me to do the invocation and the pledge, Mayor?
Please, would you do the invocation?
Our Father in heaven, give us the power to clearly discern right from wrong. Allow our words and actions to be governed thereby and by the laws of this land. We ask for your inspiration to strive in our endeavors to serve the public. We also ask that you direct us so that above all things we'll discharge our duties for the benefit of the people we serve. This we pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first up is roll call.
Good.
Yeah, I think we've already done that. Next line item is appointment of vice mayor at this time.
So just mayor and commission be among the five of you. I believe the process is somebody makes a motion and a second, then I believe a roll call vote.
Okay?
I think Mr. Trask or Ms. Van Blargen can add, but that's kind of your process too.
Is it?
And I'll just go ahead and read the section of the charter that applies. This is section 4.4 titled Vice Mayor, and it provides as follows. The Board of Commissioners shall appoint a vice mayor at its first regular meeting following the election. The term of the vice mayor shall be for 1 year. The vice mayor shall act as mayor during the absence or disability of the mayor. Should the vice mayor be required to act as mayor for a period in excess of 30 days, he/she shall receive the compensation of the mayor retroactive to the date upon which he/she assumed mayoral duties. With that as the basis, the background for selection of the vice mayor, it would just require a motion made from the floor, and then a second, then a vote on that. If there's more than one nomination for vice mayor, we can handle it that way too, if you just want to do it by nomination.
If that's the process, I'd like to nominate Commissioner Kerr for vice mayor, if he's willing.
Do we have a second?
I would like to nominate Commissioner from District 4. Her experience is well judged. Thank you.
Okay, so we have two nominations, Commissioner Brooks and Commissioner Kerr. Are there any other nominations from the floor? Okay, Mayor, so at this time, what we can do is we can do it by ballot vote. The city clerk can provide you with a piece of paper, and you can make your selection as to who you would like as your vice mayor. When you make your selection, I would just suggest that you use the name of the commissioner and make sure that you sign, each of you needs to sign that particular ballot, because we'll need that to attach that to the minutes of the meeting.
Let's proceed in that fashion then.
Okay, and then once the ballots are filled out and signed, if you could pass them down to the city clerk, she'll tally them up. And as for those commissioners that have been nominated, yes, you can vote for yourself.
Okay, I'll read each one. And Commissioner Brooks nominated herself, Commissioner Brooks
Voted for herself.
voted for herself. Commissioner McGinn voted for Commissioner Brooks. Mayor Rosteck voted for Commissioner Kerr. Commissioner Taglerini voted for Commissioner Kerr. And Commissioner Kerr voted for Commissioner Kerr. So there's 3 for Commissioner Kerr and 2 for Commissioner Brooks.
Thank you. So Vice Mayor for the next year will be Commissioner Kerr.
Thank you.
Okay, next is approval of the agenda. Do we have a motion?
I'd like to just make one comment. On the approval of the agenda, the agenda has to do with the minutes, or is that, I'm getting ahead of myself
For the whole thing.
for the whole thing. I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as written.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Kerr,
Yes.
Commissioner Brooks,
Yes.
Commissioner Taglerini,
Yes?
Commissioner McGinn,
Yes?
Mayor Rosteck.
Yes.
The motion carried 5-0.
Okay, up next are proclamations. We have a proclamation, 54th Annual Municipal Clerks Week, April 30th to May 6th, 2023. Whereas the office of the municipal clerk, a time-honored and vital part of local government, exists throughout the world, and whereas the office of the municipal clerk is the oldest amongst public servants, and whereas the office of the municipal clerk provides the professional link between the citizens, local governing bodies, and agencies of government at other levels, and whereas municipal clerks have pledged to be very mindful of their neutrality and impartiality, rendering equal service to all. Whereas the municipal clerk serves as the information center on functions of local government and community. Whereas municipal clerks continually strive to improve the administration of the affairs of the office of the municipal clerk through participation in education programs, seminars, workshops, and the annual meetings of their state, provincial, county, and international professional organizations. Whereas it is most appropriate that we recognize the accomplishments of the office of the municipal clerk. Now, I, therefore, Jim Rosteck, Mayor of the City of Madeira Beach, do recognize the week of April 30th, 2023 through May 6th, 2023 as Municipal Clerks Week, and I further extend appreciation to our municipal clerk, Clara Van Blargen, and to all municipal clerks for the vital services they perform and their exemplary dedication to the communities they represent, dated 12th day of April, 2023. Okay, next we have a presentation, an appreciation plaque presented to Doug Andrews, Commissioner District 3, March 2019 through 2023. Vice Mayor, 2020 to March 2021, April 2022 to March 2023. On behalf of the City of Madeira Beach and its citizens, we thank you for your service in making this a better community. This appreciation plaque is presented by the Board of Commissioners this, let's get the wrong date, 12th day of March 2023. Although this is dated March, not April.
Just a little postponement, so Mr. Doug Anders, if you'd please come up. Former Commissioner, Vice Mayor, I want to thank you certainly very much for your service. It's been my pleasure and honor, obviously, to have met you and to see you pretty much almost daily walking, if not on the sand, certainly at the store, or just in and around the city. But I really do appreciate everything you've done for the city, everything you've done to help my job here make it a lot easier. I know the employees were very, very content and happy to see you when you would come around, because typically you always had a very nice smile, in addition to the tan. And just to clarify, we're not related, so that makes it, I think there's some people who think we may have been related, or they chose to hire a manager that, anyway, either way. But definitely appreciate on behalf of all the employees here at the City of Madeira Beach, and certainly the many residents that greatly benefited from the 4 years that you were here. I truly want to thank you for your service, dedication, your commitment, and present this to you.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
If you want to say anything.
Oh, look at that. I just did that. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Take your seats, take your seats. All right. Anyway, normally I just kind of do it off the cuff here, but I went to the dentist today, so my mouth's a little numb, so if I stumble a little bit, give me a break, all right? But I did write some things down, only because I want to make sure that I address everything that I wanted to talk about, since it'll be my last time up here. First off, I'm completely humbled by standing up here to receive this honor. Too many people to thank, so I really want to just thank everybody and say it's been my honor to represent the city on the dais for the past 4 years and spend the better part of a decade representing the city in some capacity. My advice to the new commission is simple. Read, listen, and learn. Okay, this isn't a time to be playing agenda politics or make drastic changes. The board's eldest statesmen, my friends Commissioner Kerr and Tagliarini, have been here a whopping total of almost 13 months respectively. So the last thing you guys need now, prior to shortly reviewing a new budget, is to make changes to the very people that are presenting it to you. Folks, remember your staff is very well trained and trained professionals. And frankly, have forgotten more about the city than most of us are ever going to know. But the most important aspect is they're literally apolitical, okay? Their only objective up here is to do what's best for the city, nothing more, nothing less. And if anything can combat your inexperience, it's going to be their ability to utilize their expertise. I beg of you, do not let this turn into another 2017. Repairing the massive fiscal and staff damages and getting over the humiliation of a face licker is probably something this city won't be able to absorb again. I do understand that we had an election and the concept of having a non-city employee was voted down. This oddly received the same amount of votes as Mayor Rostick received in winning his election, and I'm not suggesting any chicanery. What I do guarantee, though, is the majority of the people were not educated on what the consequences of removing Mr. Laughlin are. And you do know how difficult this is for me to be nice to you, right? Okay, I just wanted to make sure you knew that. Bottom line, would the people have voted for this if they knew it could cause a millage rate increase? My humble suggestion, have a town hall, figure out why they, or even some of you up here, voted it down. Because if you're sitting up there and you voted no, you should be embarrassed. Remember, your job is to do what's best for the city, not what the loudest or most frequent posters on Nextdoor.com are suggesting. You represent the people, but your oath that you took was to do what's in the best interest of the city, period. Please remember that. Finally, I have not shed a tear about the election results. Free and fair elections are what this democracy is based on. I will say that the mean-spiritedness and lack of integrity, I hope, will not make it difficult to get people to run for office in this municipality in the future. Speaking of integrity, Mr. Rostick, you ran your campaign based on integrity, so I'm giving you an opportunity to show some now. Please drop your 2 ethics complaints that you have filed against me, because I think when exposed, you're not going to have a lot of explaining to do your citizenry and the people that voted for you. Much more important, you owe an apology to the founder of the Trash Pirates, Candy Maiden, and my girlfriend, her 8-year-old daughter, and her 8-year-old friend. All they were doing was holding up signs showing support for their candidate, and they should not be subjected to unprovoked heckling by a grown man running for the top office in the city, acting like a moron in a Jeep, yelling out inappropriate things. I'd say it was hearsay, but you drove by me 4 times and said the exact same crap, okay? So I ask you to be a man and apologize, or I'm going to find time on my schedule to be at every meeting and take my 3 minutes to address this board. Your choice. Once again, I apologize for the negativity. Thank you for the recognition. It means the world to me. And the words of my dear friend Pat Shantz, I'll see you around the campus. Thanks, guys.
Okay, next up is the FY 2022 audit presentation.
Mayor and Commission, representing our external auditors, James Moore, is Mr. Zach, and sorry, looking for you, Zach Califer, CPA, a partner with James Moore and Company. So I'll turn it over to you, Zach, to give us summary brief on our fiscal year 2022 external financial audit.
All right. Good evening. Zach Shalafor, partner, James Moore and Company. We did have a PowerPoint in there. Not sure if you've got that, Clara. Is it just the whole? I do have a backup just in case. I think the.
I don't think it's in here. I don't think.
I think it's in my packet. From a PowerPoint now.
Unless the presentation is the PowerPoint. Andrew laughing.
Should be able to just insert, and we'll get Tom out. Should be able just to plug in there and it'll work. I think it's up in.
Oh, up there. I got you.
Yep.
All right. It's in.
He'll switch over to it.
No. So just.
Nope, try the other one.
All right. Well, while we get that squared away, though, again, Zach Shalafor, partner, James Moore and Company. So we are going to review the results of the annual audit for the fiscal year ended September 30th, 2022, as well as hit some of the financial highlights, kind of just at a very high level, what we look at from an audit perspective. Again, primarily geared towards any major concerns, trends that we see that we want to communicate to you all. So first and foremost, thank you to the commission. I know we have some new faces, so look forward to working with you all. This is our 3rd year working with the city as your external auditors. A big thank you to Andrew, Patrick, and the finance staff as well for making this as seamless. It's always kind of a painful process, but making it as seamless as it can be, given the second file down there. There's one below that. The CMB one. Yep. All right, perfect. And then, are you going to be able to move that?
I got you here, Zach.
Okay, got it. All right. So first slide here, just to hit kind of a summary of the report that the city finance team does put together. As in prior years, the city prepares what's called an annual comprehensive financial report. Ultimately, what this is this takes the minimum requirements set forth by state statute in terms of what has to be submitted, what's encompassed in a financial audit, and there's additional components that are prepared by staff go into this document. Every year, this document is submitted to the GFOA, or the Government Finance Officers Association, for evaluation of compliance really with these enhanced reporting requirements. There's 2 major sections. There's an introductory section that kind of paints a profile of the city as a whole, and then really one of the interesting ones towards the back is what we call the statistical section, which is about 15, 20 schedules, historical data, 10 years worth in many cases, both financial and non-financial. So always kind of one that I look at and kind of say, you could look at it 10 different times and learn something new every time about, how has the city evolved over the course of the past decade. So that certificate was awarded for the 2021 financial statements. We expect to see that again for this document. You can go to the next slide, which summarizes our audit report. So these financial statements, they are management's financial statements. As part of our audit, there's 4 reports that we issue related to the different requirements surrounding the audit procedures. The first one is the audit report on the financial statements themselves. The city did receive an unmodified opinion. This is the best opinion that we can issue that effectively says that the numbers presented in your financial statements are fairly presented in all material respects. Effectively, that the numbers can be relied upon, and that's the primary objective of a financial statement audit, is to ensure that you have accurate financial data that you're looking at. The second report is on internal control and compliance. And what this relates to is we also perform the audit in accordance with government auditing standards. And what those standards require is that while a financial audit is not an audit of internal controls, that's not the objective or focus of this audit, as we are testing financial activity and balances, if we come across any deficiencies in internal controls in terms of how a control process is designed or any exceptions to the controls being followed, we would potentially have to report those in this report, or if we had any compliance issues that would have a material impact on the financial statements, whether it's related to grants, budget, otherwise, those would fall in this report as well, potentially. We had no comments reported here. The third one is a separate management letter required by the Florida Auditor General, kind of a catch-all of items here. The primary focus is surrounding financial condition. If there were any red flags that the city triggered, we would have to modify this language to identify those items. We had no such modifications. The only other item here is there's also kind of a catch-all for any other comments, recommendations, things that we want to communicate. And there were 2 items identified here. The first related to impact fees. Well, the city does have impact fees in effect in the state statutes on impact fees. There's language suggesting those need to just be tracked in a separate fund just to kind of have an added level of segregation over those dollars. So the recommendation there basically saying to split that out versus it being in the general fund. The second one related to the building department fund balance, where the city or the state put a new statute into place about 4 years ago that basically limited how much money could be carried forward in restricted funds related to the building department, because any revenues generated from your permitting process have to be used in carrying out the building department function. It's not like a general revenue like property taxes that can kind of be used for any city purpose. So if that fund balance is over the average of your last 4 years of expenditures, the state says that it has to be under that, but doesn't kind of give a whole lot of guidance in terms of timing on what grace period is, how the state's going to look at enforce it, or anything else like that. So we basically here are just notifying to ensure everyone's aware that, hey, you're over that at the moment. So to ensure that there's really a plan in place to comply with that and kind of get to a good spot going forward. It's a challenging one though, because those revenues are kind of some of your most volatile revenues or expenses, versus you could kind of say, okay, with certain departmental budgets, you know what you've got there and what level of service you're providing every year, where from a building perspective, your revenues and expenditures can fluctuate just based off of the level of permitting applications, things like that are not in your direct control. The fourth report that we issue is we have to look at the city's compliance with state statutes over investment activity, investment policies. And there we did note, in our opinion, that the city was in compliance with that statute. On the next slide, we have a historical trend look at your fund balance. This is kind of your equity or reserves in the general fund. We take our assets minus liabilities. With having a few new faces, I'll kind of walk through the different buckets. Visually, it's kind of one where the higher it is, the less ability you have to spend those funds, the lower it is, the more flexibility you have. That non-spendable number of about $513,000, that's where you have anything that is not available in cash form to be spent out of the general fund. So the items here is there's a little bit of prepaid expenses
I'm sorry to interrupt. Is there any way that PowerPoint can be emailed? I absolutely can't see it in those screens. Can somebody just pop it in an email to us? Or if it's not possible, I'll figure it out. But
I think city manager.
I can do that now.
you don't need to stop. Just if you could send that over, it'd just make it a lot easier for me.
Sure.
Thanks.
So the 513,000, a lot of it's prepaid expenses where you've paid for health, an insurance payment for October in your next fiscal year. So because that's an asset but not in cash form, you can't go spend it for something else. That gets backed out. That also includes basically a loan receivable from the Marina Fund, where because it's not there in cash form in the general fund, we back that out as what we call non-spendable fund balance. The restricted, that represents your balance of impact fees. Because those are restricted by state statute, what you can use those for, that gets pulled out. The committed fund balance, that's where basically an internal restriction by the commission, either through resolution or ordinance. The bulk of that is your emergency reserve, where that's a specific set aside by policy. And again, because that's the commission that restricted those funds, that shows up here as committed because it would require that same commission action to remove that commitment. The assigned, that's basically just earmarked. What that relates to is what was appropriated out of fund balance between your fiscal year 23 budget when that was adopted and any carry forward or roll forward of items that basically were in your fiscal year 22 budget, not spent and were rolled into the current fiscal year. Then the unassigned is just the residual once we back out all of those different classifications of fund balance. On the next slide, what I like to do is put that kind of into perspective to say, hey, relative to what you spent in the current year, where are you at from an overall reserves perspective? As I mentioned earlier, the city's in a strong financial position. Looking at that, there was an increase of a few $1 million this year. So as a percentage, you're at about 159%. Last year, 111%. There's a minimum recommendation out there from the GFOA that says a bare minimum of 2 months, and then kind of factor in other things such as if you're a coastal community and what risk factors you're facing, whether it's hurricanes or just, COVID a few years ago was kind of the unknown that nobody could have ever predicted. So it's kind of that what if that it becomes really a policy decision to say, how much do we want to have? What are we comfortable with? Because obviously it's all a balance of, what your risk exposure is. Again, if there's a major hurricane or other event that adversely impacted the city. On the next slide, we take a quick look at your business type funds. Here I pulled your unrestricted net position. This very similarly is kind of a bottom line reserves or fund balance number. And we really look here mostly at trend. Both your sanitation marina fund with a small positive trend, that's always good to see. And the stormwater side has had a decrease. That's generally one where your stormwater revenues are covering operations, but with the debt payments that are coming out of that fund, the revenues do not cover operations plus debt. So that's generally that reason for that deficit, looking at that stormwater unrestricted number year over year. On the next slide, kind of just a catch-all of any other items you're building. Department fund balance again here, just based on current year activity, that increased about $517,000. That's what prompted, being over that kind of statutory number that the state has because of that surplus in the current year. Your other governmental funds, about $3.2 million, and most of these are generally other restricted funds where you, lots of times, many of those separate funds, you have recorded separately to really have the transparency and accountability over, okay, we've got a restricted revenue stream. Where is that money going? And let's just kind of see it right there versus having to manually pull it out of the general fund. And notably, there were no funds with negative balances there. It's kind of always one I look for because if you had a fund with a deficit, that could be one to say, well, may this have to be subsidized by the general fund at some point in the future or otherwise? So no funds with those negatives. And then lastly, with regard to the net pension liability, there is a number that shows up on your financial statements called the net pension liability. This is one I always like to just touch on for the record because what this relates to, I kind of call it an exercise in governmental accounting where about 8 or so years ago, there was a new standard where all governments, if you were in a defined benefit pension plan, had to show the unfunded liability on your financial statements. This was largely geared towards cities that have their own pension plans. So let's say, the most common, if you had a City of Madeira Beach, general employees pension, police pension, fire pension, something like that, any unfunded liabilities of your own pension plan, you're footing that bill today, tomorrow, in the future. There's nobody else contributing towards that. So that was where kind of the standard made a lot of sense. But what also got pulled in is for cost sharing plans. So the city participates in the Florida retirement system. Every year, FRS has an actuary go in, calculate the FRS unfunded liability, and then that basically theoretically gets allocated out to say, if you were to distribute it to everyone based on what you paid into the plan last year, here's what your share of that number would be. So it's about $2.5 million. It shows up as a liability in your financial statements. I always, though, do like to touch on it, again, for the record, because the ongoing obligation of the city is that every month you make your required contributions based on payroll. That has been done. It's not one where the city's going to have to go cut a check for $2.5 million. So because of that, it's a large number. Kind of without that context, can kind of say, what does this represent? So I do like to just touch on that and kind of share that it really is just more for informational purposes than a true liability that you would ever have to cut a check for. So with that, those are the highlights. I'd be more than glad to go in depth further on anything, answer any questions, and also, just do want to make you all aware, again, with a few new faces, that if you ever want to take a deep dive, walk through, in much more detail, we are always glad to do that as well.
If I might, I have a couple of questions, and you touched on one of them. If we dig into this further, and we do have some questions, how would we address those? Would we take those to the city manager and he would bring those to you, or what's the process?
It's really up to you all. I'm more than glad to.
You can ask some now, or if we can, exactly as you said, Mr. Vice Mayor, we can have them later, or we can have one-on-ones might be best, I think, to have a one-on-one and go over in greater detail.
Okay.
But certainly any questions you have now.
Well,
Zach
I do have a question now, but I wrote that question down before you even started your presentation. The stormwater, on your second to the last slide, I think, that we were looking at trends.
Yep.
And that one really kind of jumps out at me. 1.5, then 2.6, then back down to 1.5, and 2022, 73,000. Again, can you give me any additional information on why such a drastic change down to 73,000?
Sure, yeah. So from purely kind of an operational standpoint in terms of direct operating expenses in that fund relative to stormwater revenues, there was a net positive. But from a debt standpoint, where there is the debt that's being paid out of the stormwater fund, I believe rough numbers, the principal payments on that was about $1 million, interest, I believe, $400,000. So that is one where those debt payments are coming out of those reserves, kind of first your net operating revenues. So the cash generated from that charge is not enough to cover the ongoing operations plus the debt. So last year, even though there was a decrease as well, there was also a transfer, I believe about 1.1 million was the amount. Andrew?
Well, that was in '21. So in '22, there wasn't a transfer, so that did bring down the net position of the stormwater fund. So we'll just look at that annually. The stormwater fund was able to absorb it. It had sufficient net position that the transfer wasn't needed. But annually, we'll look at that as part of the budget process and likely budget a transfer from the general fund to stormwater fund to reinforce Zach's point that stormwater fee is sufficient to meet operations, but not the annual depreciation and the debt service required.
Is there any concern that you have in the near future, when I say next couple of years? I know we're doing, upgrading as we need to. Do you see a reasonable expectation that we're going to have to find revenue to support that? Or is that, I know it's already budgeted, but I'm just...
Yeah, so we issued debt in 2019 I think to the tune of about 15 million. So that was funding those stormwater projects identified. So if we want to do new stormwater projects in the future, yeah, we just got to look to a funding source, whether we issue debt, whether we have existing reserves. But the moral of the story is that the stormwater fund is not self-supportive in terms of long-term capital improvement projects, right? So we'd have to look, we can look at, okay, we got parking revenue that can offset some of that. We've got ad valorem taxes. So this city does have other revenue sources. It just depends on the magnitude of the projects that we may want to incur in the future, will then help kind of dictate potential funding source.
Okay, just given an opportunity to, if there's anything to be concerned about.
And just to add that as over the years, this is primarily, and I think Megan Wepfer can add some information, but this is where our roadway projects are being paid out of. So we're funding through the various sources of revenue that Mr. Laughlin stated, including some state appropriations, but it's all been flowing through the stormwater fund. And so the actual revenue that the fund takes in is not, based from the stormwater fee, is not sufficient to cover all of the expenses when you include the roadway projects. Those are into the millions.
Right.
So I think.
It's not expected to be.
No, and it's
That's
not.
more of an operations, not of a.
Correct.
Yeah.
However, and again, that's why we've looked at alternative revenue sources, including state appropriations, which we did receive $1 million last year, for example, for a roadway improvement project, and we'll continue to look for state and federal appropriations for that. One thing that I don't believe we have done, and I'm not advocating one way or the other, but one thing is to look at your rate, the actual stormwater utility rate, which the last increase was so it's been several years since we've reviewed or either an increase or a decrease in that fee, but right now it's currently $10 a month for an equivalent residential unit. So most single-family homes pay $10 a month, shows up or $20 on your Pinellas County utility bill. So that fee has not been addressed or, again, either for an increase or a decrease in several years. But again, that would not be sufficient to cover all of the expenses, but certainly the expenses to maintain the stormwater system, that should be sufficient. But as we go forward and through sea level rise, we may need to take a look at that fee in addition to other funding sources.
I guess it's just not specific enough. It's, more of an operations with stormwater. You get a clogged line, you get a repair here, versus some of the major renovations that we're doing. Is that in a separate fund? There's so many different funds. Is that typically not addressed here because, it's quite a bit of a difference?
You typically want to include all of your stormwater repairs,
In one.
ongoing maintenance, your capital to maintain your infrastructure. But we have incorporated also the roadway infrastructure, which is related to flood control. I mean, when your streets are milled and resurfaced, you want them to incorporate all those engineering components so that they don't flood or cause flooding to adjacent properties. So it is perfectly fine to put them in your stormwater fund. Some cities have them as separate funds, and they're all capital improvement projects, but it's fine to put them there. It's just that's why you're seeing, because the general fund has had to contribute to pay for the cost of the road projects, or at least a good amount of the road projects, in addition to the debt that the city issued a few years ago.
Very good. Thank you.
Any public comment on this topic at this time?
And Mayor and Commission, just wanted to add just a couple of quick things. As Zach pointed out, the overall financial position of the city is quite good, and the reserves are high. And so we do take that into consideration when beginning, as we have, to prepare a budget for next year, and we will be discussing more of what that will look like in 2 weeks at the April 26th budget work session, workshop, where it's a discussion, we'll bring you quite a bit of data, information relating from our revenues, our expenditures, what that will look like. But overall, this exercise of the work done by James Moore shows that really the city, over a period of several years, has done really what the city needed to do to contain expenditures and ensure we're getting the revenue that we're lawfully authorized. Of course, we've been along with most other Pinellas cities, the beneficiaries of rising property values, of rising revenue, and which again, most of our revenue comes from the property, real property tax. At the same time, our parking operation, as is referenced in the document, the report, our revenues were significantly higher than budgeted, and we anticipate that to continue this year and likely next year, and to the point where we will be looking to build a new parking garage, likely starting in '24. But overall, it points of at least several years of good financial management within the city. Now we're at the point where some decisions will need to be made as to how we go forward once we present the budget, because I know residents and even some businesses are, hey, now you've built this up, now what are we going to do going forward? We have to remind folks that we also have multiple projects in addition to road milling and resurfacing, from dredging the paths to repairing the groins to redoing a few, parking areas, looking to underground, looking to ensure future resiliency of our, seawalls, for example, and due to the rising sea level. So a lot of these that we need to be cognizant of as we go forward and make those decisions. Staff and I are certainly keeping those obviously at the forefront, but just want to let you and anybody else who may be listening that's what we're looking at, and ultimately to continue to be very conservative in what we spend money on, and making sure that, again, we receive every penny that we're lawfully entitled to. So more to come on this, and if any of you have any questions, by all means, we can schedule the meet and go over it in greater detail, but in the interim, just let us know of any questions or comments or thoughts.
It's always good to get reports back that you're doing well, but as far as anything in a deep dive, if I have any questions, I'll bring them, sit down with the city manager and go from there. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Looks like we have a gentleman with public comment behind us. If you would, try to limit your comments to 3 minutes. I'll give you a little bit of leeway if needed.
This will be short.
Thank you.
Bill Howell, 497 Johns Pass. I just listened to something that 80% of it was a financial management report that should have been presented by the finance director to you all. That was not an audit report. And I'm terribly concerned about that. You all have a fiduciary responsibility to the citizens of Madeira Beach, and you didn't ask any questions about the quality of that audit. Now, I've provided all of you with a lengthy list of questions that if I was in your seat, I would have asked, okay, because there are holes in this. But you're commingling two different things. And I worry that you've outsourced the entire financial management of this city to two contractors. And an auditor is telling you how your money's going to be used. Why is not the finance director doing that? It's a very weird situation. You all have a tremendous amount of power. You're running a $50 million a year business. Take ownership of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, next up is public comment for any items that are not on the agenda. If you'd like to step up to the podium at this time. Okay, please try to limit your comments to 3 minutes. I'll give you some leeway if needed.
This is bigger than my garbage can. I just had to say that, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm Catherine Bowman, 701 Sunset Cove. I completely appreciate our Public Works Department, all the sanitation people, and I understand that this new garbage can program, we have the cans. They're not going anywhere, okay? I live right off of East Parsley, and I'm not gonna go around taking pictures because we have code enforcement officers who I know have had to see these cans. They're sitting right at the road, and it looks awful. It looks awful seeing the blue can and 4 brown cans, just in a big stretch where anywhere there's a plex, duplex, quadruplex, whatever. It looks terrible. So, I just want to let you know that. And then the only other thing I have is that I have 9 30-foot Areca palm trees. Yeah, lots of mess. We had 2, we didn't get the storms, but we had wind events from Nicole and Ian. And now my palms are falling. They are no longer picking up palm fronds on regular garbage day, and I lived here over 3 years. I'd have some palms out, one swoop, poof, in the garbage. They go to the same place. All right, so last week, nobody picked up palm fronds that are falling. I break them all in half to make sure they're not 8 feet long and keep it all neat and everything. But I take good care of my yard, and I don't want to have piles of palm fronds with the lovely roaches, snakes getting in them, you know? So all I ask is that just pick up that little pile of palm fronds, because today they had a huge amount to pick up. Garbage can, and now I made sure it was not 8 feet wide or 4 feet tall, but, you know, that's all I ask. I like to see our city looking clean. And with the new garbage cans and palm fronds sitting around, and lastly, again, I have written, and it has been fixed, with the new recycle program. I had glass and papers. My issue stopped. I have not had anything come out of the recycle can from the truck. Today, as windy as it was, a neighbor, about a quarter of everything flew out of the can and was all over the place. So there just needs to be some care. I mean, I guess the guy's probably not supposed to get out of his truck, but come on. It looked awful, so I truck out there and go help pick it up. But just, I want to keep our city clean, you know? And I really would like the help with my palm fronds. So never was a problem before, and I love our guys, so.
We'll do better.
All right, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Mr. Mayor, may I ask a question of Ms. Bowman? Absolutely. Sorry, just for clarity, are you suggesting that your palm fronds aren't being picked up on Wednesdays, or are you asking
No,
if they could be picked up more often? Is that, I'm trying to understand.
Okay. I understand that yard trash is Wednesday, okay? And I always have it. But ever since I lived here, which is over 3 years now, I would have a few palms and put them out by the trash, and they would take them. And now all of a sudden, with the new cans and the new paper that gives the rules, they're leaving the palm fronds. And I have a lot falling off right now because of the 2 storms. I mean, I had a lot. So they were sitting out there since last Friday. I put them out Thursday night, and this pile sat there. Then I had 3 more piles in the backyard since, and they picked them up today. But it would have been a lot easier and a lot less time just for one little whoop, boop in the trash can.
I just wanted to make sure I understand the
Yeah,
situation. Great, thank you.
sure. All right. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. City Manager, is there anything that we can do to address her concern? Is it still only once a week we're picking up?
It has always been once a week for yard waste, but the process, and this is the change, when you begin to automate the process, and eventually in this city, like most other cities, there will be just a truck driving down with the arm extending and picking up and dumping the can for your trash container. So historically, it would appear that our trash personnel, whatever they saw, they would throw in the truck. And that's not what's occurring. Unless you want us to continue to do that, then we're back to what we were before, which we can do that, but we're simply asking for all residents to follow what has actually been in the city for some time. There were quite a few parts in our ordinances that we were not really encouraging or forcing folks to do, such as you were always required to conceal your cans. We weren't really doing that until now. So that's the process, and we can go back to where we were, but going forward, that's the future of the trash maintenance, and having lids are significantly more helpful than those that didn't have lids, because it didn't rain very much earlier today, but you would have cans that would fill up with water when it rains, then the truck would fill up, then the leaching would happen. I haven't seen very much leaching since we went to the cans, which I think is good. You don't have, gross water coming from through the truck, especially when it gets compacted. As I walk down the streets, I haven't smelled a bad aroma or odor of trash, which is good. I used to smell a lot of the dog waste. Where I live, there, and a lot of other neighborhoods, lots of dogs walking around, but people would put the doggy poop bags in open trash cans. So I don't see that anymore because now they have lids. So odor control, trash control, windy days, it's tough to do that. When you had the 18-gallon containers, even when people would put them out, if the wind would pick up later in the day, stuff would blow around. That's not happening. We'll make sure that Waste Pro tries to limit so that it doesn't fly away, but if it's that windy, the can goes up in the air, a gale wind is gonna force the lid. So I agree, and we'll do a better job just to make sure that they are doing that and picking everything up.
And those cans on East Parsley need to be put up because it looks just awful. They are at the corners of every piece of property, at all those plexes.
Are they,
Yeah, and
are
so,
they being left out after hours?
All 24/7.
Oh,
no,
okay.
there's definitely, and our deputies have been out and they've been tagging as well as our sanitation staff. And the other thing is that we do have some residents who, this is a change one way or another. We were the last city in this area to do this. And it is something to get used to as you're driving down the street. You're just going to see cans lined up. And I understand it's not ideal, but that's the future of trash waste management and recycling. I will tell you, that is a reason why some cities stop recycling, because it's just too many containers. So, and some cities provide containers for your yard waste as well. So you may have 3 to 4 different types of containers for different collections. So we have 2 right now, plus all of the yard waste that we do. Try to remind everybody that it's just on Wednesdays.
I can just speak anecdotally from my block. Initially, when the change came, there were a lot of cans left out, and then I saw a couple of notifications from Public Works. And then, I'm gonna say right now, it's perfect. I mean, I'm thrilled it happened so quickly, but at first, people were not sure what to do with all these cans. I think it may just be, we need, the Public Works continues doing what they're doing, and in time, people will finally catch on. Because really, the rules haven't changed. It's just, the trash cans all look alike now.
Okay, we're up to item number 9, the consent agenda. Any member?
There's one more speaker.
Sorry, sir, I didn't see you. Please approach.
Welcome to the new commissioners. Chuck Dillon, 529 Lillian Drive. This is a little sore subject that we've been talking, that's been going around, that the Crystal Island project was $15 million. I'm just looking at Gibbs and Register contract value, $10,683,000. Now, I was very much involved with this, and I know the county added $2 or $3 million to that contract for things that they had asked us to do. How did it get up to 15 million, and did we get reimbursed for all the work that was done for the county? And I know that was an after-the-fact type thing. City paid Gibbs and Register, and then the county was going to be paying us back. And once again, the big contention is that we had $15 million. Well, the bid is 10.6, so it came in well under bid, and I kept my fingers and thumb on it as well as I could. And I do believe most of the items came in under their budget, except for the few additional things that the county had requested to be done, like additional fire hydrants and various things like that. And it's just, I don't know, I mean, where did this money come from? And I'd be very upset in seeing how it started at 10 million and wound up at 15. I don't know. And it goes into, I guess, a little bit of accountability. And that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Could the Public Works Director chime in on this a little bit and give us some clarification, please?
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Just to put on the record, I was not the Public Works Director for the Crystal Island project. So if we're going to talk financials, we would definitely need to get that from Andrew. But the Crystal Island project was not $15 million. We did a $15 million loan for 3 areas, one of those being Crystal Island, one being Area 3, and one being Area 5. Am I correct with that, Andrew?
Yep.
Yes, and Pinellas County did reimburse the city. I don't have those exact figures, but we can get back to you. That's when we mention these JPA, joint participation agreements with the county, that pays for their utilities when we do these projects. We do pay for them up front during the projects, but we do get a reimbursement back. So we don't pay for Pinellas County's upgrades or repairs for their systems. So if we can get back to you with those figures, but we don't have them at this moment.
If you would, and then we could refer them over to Mr. Dillon for his review.
Sure,
Well, thank you.
of course.
Joe Jorgensen, 13019 Boca Ciega Avenue. Welcome to the new commissioners and the mayor and the existing commissioners. I'm following this lady that has the problem with trash pickup. I moved here in 1984. And when I bought my house, one of the reasons I moved to Madeira Beach was the fact that was the trash pickup. And the trash pickup was we had a lot of older people then. Now I'm old, but I mean, I wasn't then. Okay, we had a lot of older people then, and the garbage men would go up to their door, pick up the trash, empty it in the truck, bring it back to them. Anything you put out there, they took. They were the heroes out here on the beach. Now, all of a sudden, we've got these new containers. We've got the problem that you just heard. But we need to get into the 21st century. And I say garbage. Lots of it. Why do you have to get into the 21st century? We had a really incredible sanitation department here that did things for the people, the residents of this city. And now we're taking it away from them. I didn't know they were bringing out these garbage cans. Now I do get mine right away and bring it back in, and I am able to wheel it out there. But there are people that aren't. Maybe some of those cans are out there because nobody's there to pull them back in for these people. And I know there's a couple in my neighborhood, I'd pull them in for them, but because they can't do it. But I'm saying all this because you folks have to remember one thing, and that is you're there, as Doug pointed out, to represent the residents of this city. Not the developers, not the city employees. You're here to represent the residents, and I'm here to beg you to do that. I want you to do that. Something like this trash thing was just thrown on top of everybody. Now, granted, we don't come to the meetings. A lot of people watch them. But all of a sudden now we've got all these new rules on trash. And you got a lot of things, a lot of big decisions you're going to have to make shortly. I mean, one of the biggest, you've got a Johns Pass Village Activity Center. They want to add density, and they want to add 1,150 square feet of floor space, and that's 26 acres of floor space. You've been driving around town. You see how bad the traffic is. It's a incredible area down here to get in and out of. We know what 150th looks like now, and we know the traffic there. And now we're going to do it down there in Johns Pass. Again, I'm only bringing that up because you need to represent the residents, and I beg you to do that. I hope you do, because we're the ones out there that are going to suffer when things like this happen, like the trash. And I know it's a minor thing. It's not a big deal, but it is to some people. And to me,
Joe,
it was
can
a
you
big deal when I came here.
Can you summarize for us?
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, can I make a comment? If you don't mind, Ms. Webfer, or, she's not here.
Yeah,
Mr.
she's right
Miller,
here. But
you
if we do have residents that need help, we will do that.
It was my
And
understanding
we
that.
still continue to provide that
You answered my
assistance. If people
question.
can't wheel out or put their trash out, our staff will still go get it from the side of the house.
So we do have
We
a
are
photo.
not going into someone's backyard or in a concealed area or something that may not be safe. If employees were doing that before, they should not have been doing that out of safety for everyone. And particularly now that I guess in a few months, we'll be able to carry a gun without any permit. So I do not want my staff, maybe our employees may be able to carry guns, I'm not sure. At least one county already is making that decision. However, we want to ensure safety of everyone. And so if there are any residents who need help to wheel their cart or whatever that might be, they just need to let us know. We already have
Yeah,
dozens.
we have a handful. It's listed on the cart, on the stickers. It was listed on the reminder that was taped to every trash can. If you need assistance, to just call. It gets added to the list. We understand that there are elderly people. We understand that there are disabled people. The sanitation staff has been here for 25 years and are nearly retirement, which is why we're moving in the way that we're moving. This is not to make a change for everybody. We are going into the future. We are planning for not having a 3-person crew because realistically, nobody's applying. So we're just moving to the future.
Struggling to find employees to do that type of work.
Absolutely.
And we're not the only ones.
No, we're competing with every fellow city around us.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Bill Howell, 497 Johns Pass Avenue. I'm truly disappointed, as I stand here tonight, that there's been no mention of Charter Amendment Number 2 from our recent election. It's not on tonight's agenda. It's not on the list of topics for the workshop that's coming up. The subject of my public comment is whether the city of Madeira Beach, in the form of this commission, is going to listen to the voters and move to hire a full-time finance director, or whether you are going to ignore the will of the voters. You will recall that this item was the very last item on the workshop meeting 3 weeks ago, after what was almost a never-ending discussion of parking benefits to the city, okay? That caught the attention of local press, and I'll come back to that in a minute. I naively thought at the time the city of Madeira Beach would do what the voters asked. Much to my surprise, when the commissioners asked, what should we do? Our interim city attorney's answer was nothing. Mayor Rostick then asked, the voters voted this amendment down. Does this mean they want a full-time employee in this position? The interim city attorney did not respond. The city manager, though, did respond with, yes, that can be inferred. How much clearer do the voters need to make this? This item has garnered the interest, as I said, among news reporters in the area. And to that topic, it's going to make the papers tomorrow. And I have a pre-release of the article that I'd like to read 2 paragraphs of. When asked where the ballot language originated for the number 2 charter amendment, the city clerk's office answered that the ballot question was written by interim city attorney Trask and noted that there was no public input on the question. Now it turns out that interim city attorney Trask is also an independent contractor for Madeira Beach. The man who wrote the ballot question about whether or not there should be a contractor in an official full-time position is a contractor himself. When combined with interim city attorney Trask's response to the Board of Commissioners of do, quote, nothing, unquote, it certainly sounds to me like a potential conflict of interest that you all should have called out. I don't recall him or anyone else recusing themselves during that meeting. This will be in tomorrow's paper. Wasn't instigated by me. It was instigated by reporters that picked it up off of the feed and said, something's not right here. So here we are, 3 weeks on, and I'll finish in 20 seconds. And there is no apparent action on the part of the city to listen to the will of the voters. I've provided all of you, the commissioners, with data that I've obtained through Freedom of Information Acts to address this situation of this finance director. Based on his first 3 months of this year, between what he's charging for financial director and the use of his software, you're running at an annual rate of $142,000. You've seen the emails, or hopefully you will see the emails, and hopefully you will read them, and you'll see that we're paying for modifications to software you don't own. That documentation goes into much more detail, and I ask that you look at it. And I call on you, the commissioners, to take immediate action on this need for a full-time finance director and to proceed with haste to appoint a new city attorney. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
May I comment?
We have another resident coming up.
I want to make sure that everyone realizes that the workshop was just that. It was a workshop. It was not a vote. We didn't take a vote. I was surprised to see it wasn't on the agenda. I didn't bring it up. I did meet with the city manager. Didn't discuss what was on the agenda so much as other things. I would say that it not only needs to be on the next workshop and invite as many, hopefully get as much public comment from the residents at the workshop, but that we should have a special meeting. I still stand with my original comment saying that there's a lot of advantages to having a company provide the financial services. You don't know what you don't know, and one of the things that I'm researching and want to research is the duties and scope of what we would expect from a financial director, and are we getting that, all of that, from an independent contractor? I don't know the answers to all that, but that's where a discussion, and I believe a special meeting, would be a great idea in addition to having it on the workshop and then on the following agenda to make some decisions, take some votes. That's all I have.
Doug Andrews, 90 141st Avenue in Madeira. Ray, that was, I wasn't even going to address that, but that was very well put. I think instead of a special meeting, maybe a town hall where everybody can have a little input in on it. I think Mr. Howell is probably correct. It was the vote of the citizens, and I don't think that everybody really understands the magnitude of it. $142,000 is a lot of money, but you're going to have to buy the software somewhere, okay? You're going to have to utilize the software somewhere, so that's going to come with a cost. And to get somebody of Andrew's talent that has the software and knows how to use it and is able to, and I'm not calling out Jim, but the mayor ran to get updated information on the website monthly. Well, we have updated information on the website by the minute because of the software that Andrew provides. So that's not even what I wanted to talk about, but I think you put it on the workshop. That's a great idea. Have a town hall and explain what the difference is. I don't think it's really any benefit to having a full-time employee versus a contractor. You just want to get the work done, right? That's really the only concept and the only thing that we should be worried about. Have the best person doing the work. If we can save money on not giving them benefits, I think we ought to look at that as a really good option, because what's going to end up happening, to get somebody of his talent, probably $250,000 with the software included. So that's number one. Number two, I wanted to address Chuck's stuff. He's spot on. The numbers that he's talking about, I don't know where the $15 million, that it cost $15 million to do it. My contention when I sat on the board and approved the Crystal Island project was I was upset that we went out and got the money and bragged about getting $15 million for a project that we hadn't even gotten bids for yet. And then we were surprised when the bids came in way higher. So Chuck's wrong on one thing, that we came in under budget. We didn't come in under budget. The budget for that project was $6 million. Chuck's correct. It cost $10.6 million, plus there's a $2 million kicker that the county was kicking in. So the total cost of the project, what we paid out, was $12.6 million, okay? We had budgeted $6 million, and we were shocked when all these bids came in way over that number, okay? So even if it's $4.6 million that we're talking about, and that estimate was prepared 6 months prior, so the price of that project did not go up 80% over the course of that time. So I was infuriated because people were high-fiving, saying, hey, we did such a great job. $4.6 million to a city of this size is enormous. That's an enormous amount of money. And then we ended up having to pay a consultant $200,000 to monitor the project, okay? So I was irate about that. I was like, I can't believe that we can't oversee this project with all the money that we're putting out. So I apologize. I didn't mean to get into it, but Chuck was, I mean, his numbers are spot on. I don't think anybody was blasting a $15 million number. Is that what the project cost? The project cost $12.6. We got reimbursed, I believe, Megan, about $2 million from the county on that. Somewhere in that general vicinity, because I remember when we were talking about it. But what was upsetting was we had a finance director up here pontificating about the fact that he secured a $15 million loan before putting bids out. That money was supposed to cover 3 projects when we first did it. Barely covered, it covered 1 and maybe a half. So, thanks.
Any other public comment? All right, now we're down to number 9, the consent agenda. Any member of the Board of Commissioners may ask to pull consent item for separate discussion and vote. Do we have?
I just had the one comment on the approval of the minutes, which is with the consent agenda. It was just one comment on page 121. The last sentence just needs a little clarification, that's all. It was relating to, it says, Commissioner Kerr said they were making $50,000 a month since May 22, but it doesn't reference what that was. It was for the citations, for the enforcement. We're making $50,000 a month strictly on enforcement. So if that could be cleaned up,
That'll be corrected.
then I would like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda as written with that one minor modification.
Second.
City Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Vice Mayor Kerr,
Yes.
Commissioner Taglerini,
Yes?
Commissioner McGeehan,
Yes?
Commissioner Brooks,
Yes.
Mayor Rostack.
Yes.
The motion carried 5-0.
All right, item number 10, public hearings. Do we have any? Don't think so. All right, let's go to number 11, unfinished business. All right, I see the Public Works Director is ready to go. Contracts and agreements, A, Area 5 engineering scope approval.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. So this is what we discussed during the workshop. This is for Area 5, which includes 131st Avenue East and 129th Avenue. So with these road projects, as we discussed about the Crystal Island project, we will no longer rebuild roadways. We have found that the longevity doesn't necessarily get us too much longer, and it's just not really worth it. So we have now decided to start milling and resurfacing. We will replace curbs, and we will replace the storm. We will upsize the storm if we have the area. Most of our stormwater outfalls go in between houses, which are most likely right on the property line. So in those cases, we can't usually upsize the pipe, but we can upsize in the roadways. We will be working on this area with Pinellas County. They are going to be replacing a water main that goes from one of our parks on 129th to Treasure Island. So we will have another joint participation agreement with the county for replacement of that water main. I think there's some sewer lines that they will be replacing and any other issues that they have in that area. The budget for the engineering services came in at $52,000. I do have $1 million budgeted for Area 5 for engineering and construction for fiscal year '23. And I think that's about it. Do we have any questions?
I have one.
Sure.
In reading through the scope, it has in there reimbursable expenses at an hourly rate. Do we have an hourly rate schedule? Do we know what those hourly rates are?
I believe that's in their new contract that we just approved. I do not have that hourly rate right off the top of my head.
I'm just, before something's signed, I would think, and that just kind of goes with all the contracts and agreements in this section.
Yeah, it's included on almost every engineering contract. They'll have that
I would
just
think
as
so,
a
it's
just
just not in our
case.
package. Okay,
Yeah. We can get that number for you.
thanks.
Are we able to approve this without that hourly wage?
Yeah, I would think so.
Any of the other commissioners have comments or questions on this? Do we have public comment? Do we have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve Area 5 engineering scope and approval.
I'll
As
second.
written.
City Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Vice Mayor Kerr,
Yes.
Commissioner Taglerini,
Yes.
Commissioner Brooks,
Yes.
Commissioner McGinn,
Yes.
Mayor Rostack.
Yes.
The motion carried 5-0.
Okay. Area 6A.
Area 6A is this City Hall area, which includes Municipal Drive, 153rd, 4th, and 5th, 1st, 2nd, and Harbor. So again, we will be milling and resurfacing, curb repair, stormwater improvements, and Pinellas County utility upgrades. With this area, we had $200,000 budgeted for engineering services, and the proposal came in at $141,500. We also requested state appropriation money for Area 6A, and we received $1 million, which that was approved. The agreement with FDOT was approved just the last meeting. So we do have appropriations for this area.
And that's from FDOT?
That is correct.
Okay.
So we are on a pretty strict schedule with FDOT. With these plans, we received funding for Area 5, which is in with FDOT right now. I'm sorry, Area 3. They have to go through their whole entire approval process. They review the applications, they ask questions, comments. So this area will take a little bit longer because I think their whole entire review process is about 6 months. So the sooner we get this, then the sooner we can start rolling.
Any questions from the commission? Any public comment on this?
Chuck Dillon, 529 Lillian. How much do you have allocated for this area? Beside the 1 million that,
We only have budgeted for the $200,000 for engineering currently in fiscal year '20.
okay, so, I mean, I'd have to say, the way numbers are, $1 million for Area 5, I think is on the very low side. You know, and, you know, just how numbers are and everything. And I'm not sure what the scope is, and I'll very happily donate my time and everything going through it all. And I worked with Al on the Crystal Island and very happy to. But I mean, you know, but I'm standing here saying, no offense, Megan, but that ain't gonna come in under $1 million, and this one isn't gonna come in under $1 million either. So,
I understand.
okay.
Stating the funding that we received. 'Cause, you know, we have to go through the approval process. They review the applications, they ask questions, comments. So there, this area will take a little bit longer because
Thank you for your comment, Chuck.
Can you help me to understand? You know that, why is that, then why is that okay?
Well, we were only allowed, we requested more funding through the state appropriation, but we were told that we needed to back down. It's not going to cover half of the project. With Area 3 that we have right now, we received a grant for $549,400. That area is quite large. So we are requesting whatever we can get, and then they match it. So I think originally said that over here was, I think it was $4 or $5 million, but through our, RJ, believe is his name, he told us that we needed to go down to $2 million. So whatever we could do to get that funding is what we did, and we received $1 million. So no, that is not, the project's not only going to be $2 million, it will be more than that. But I can't stand before you today with construction prices and tell you that the project's going to be approximately $4 million when there is a possibility it could be more and it could be less because we've tremendously brought down our scopes. We're not going to be rebuilding the roadway. We're not going to be doing exponential work like we did on Crystal Island. So it's much different.
This project's been in the works for how long?
We've been working on 6A. We requested funding, I believe, in '22.
I thought it was longer.
It might have been. I don't really recall.
Yeah,
I'd have to look back through my grant application.
it's work that needs to be done.
That is correct.
So-
So whatever funding we can get,
It's not getting any cheaper.
it is not.
But again, as Megan stated, Mayor and Commission, we just don't know the total cost. We have some estimates. The item before you is to approve just the cost of those engineering services to begin the project. And once we have the information, then we will bring that back to you and provide that information as to what the total cost will be. As Megan stated, we did have to provide an amount to the state in order to receive the funding, just as we did, I believe, for the groins, just as we did to dredge Johns Pass.
Right.
And, yeah, do we know we don't know. We can really provide a very good guess, but we truly won't know until we get much, much closer to the project and also through the permitting processes, for example, for the groins and the dredging. So, but once we have that, we will definitely bring that back. We know these are the costs at this time to begin, and that's the item that's before you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Can we get a motion on Area 6A?
I move for the approval of the scope of work for Area 6 in the amount of $141,500,000.
I'll second that.
City Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
You just need to make sure we get that motion correct, because the motion should be for Area 6A, and the cost is $141,500.
Sounded like you said $1 million.
It sounded like you said $1 million.
Sorry.
So the motion is...
But it doesn't say 6A in my notes, that's why I said 6.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's fine.
it's Area 6A. Yeah, okay.
So I'll revise my motion. I move that we approve the scope of the work for Area 6A in the amount of $141,500.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we had a second? Okay,
I seconded it.
okay. We just need the city clerk to call the roll then?
Commissioner Taglerini,
1,000,000 times yes.
Commissioner Brooks,
Yes.
Commissioner McGinn,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Kerr,
Yes.
Mayor Roskak.
Yes.
The motion carried 5-0.
Okay, next up is the Pocket Park design proposal.
This is my last item. So what we have before you today is for the pocket parks that are located in the Boca Ciega neighborhood. Currently, we are requesting for the design services for 5 of those pocket parks, and I believe Robin's going to take us through so we can kind of discuss each one of those locations. This will design the sort of layout that we have, and we are aware that every pocket park is different. We have a couple that, one has a driveway that goes through the pocket park, and another one uses part of it for parking for their, I don't want to call it a business, but their multi-use property. So at these go ahead, Ron.
Yeah, at the 5 locations, the item before you again is to approve the cost to engineer, architect, provide some preliminary designs, concept, scope of what each one of the 5 areas may look like. They are all somewhat unique. There's only a couple that are very, very similar. The map up on the screen, if we go from left to right in the top part, the 135th Avenue, 134th Avenue, essentially rights of way or where the road ends. The 133rd Avenue has been completed, and just off the edge toward the edge of the map, 132nd. And we'll get to specifically. And then the 5th one is down, the 4th one at 131st Avenue adjacent to the Coast Guard Auxiliary, and the 5th one on the southern end of 132nd Avenue East. Each one is, as I stated, somewhat unique in terms of what is physically there now and access, ingress, egress, and what it might look like. This is the 135th, and again, looking at an aerial, this is a pretty rectangular, this is the longest one that we have. Currently, just the 2 single families on each side, 2 single family structures on each side, and then for some reason we found some poles in the water that we did not install. We're not sure if one of the neighbors placed on there, but
I'm sorry, Mr. Gomez, which pocket park is this?
135th.
Thank you.
But regardless of the poles out on the water that we found, we'll have to address that at some point. But the park, the idea is obviously something really no more intense than the park at 133rd that has just a small white fence, pavers through the middle, a little decorative, well, not decorative, but a fountain with some landscaping and a palm tree, and the rest being grass. And so pretty simple and straightforward would be similar for 135th. 134th, not significantly different in that it's the rectangular shape, although it's a little narrower. It appears to be narrower. All of these are 50 feet in diameter, side to side, so 50 feet of right-of-way from essentially the northern line to the southern line. This one on 134th presents a unique challenge because the property owner immediately to the south, this single-family home, has been utilizing the city right-of-way as their entrance and exit onto their driveway, onto their covered area where they park their cars and then essentially the driveway. So we are going to reach out to this property owner and inquire if they would be amenable to an ingress, egress, entrance, exit through their property rather than the city right-of-way. If they refuse to do so, I mean, we will work with them to make this as easy for them to access. The downside to it is obviously they lose a part of their front yard, but it would be not at a cost to them. We're simply just moving their entrance and exit. If not, then the proposed design will have a very different look because then this would have some sort of asphalt or paving or pervious pavers to allow them to still have their entrance and exit. It is not the city's desire to change or alter anybody's quality of life by restricting their access or eliminating their access. We still want them to have that. This one is going to be probably the most unique, trying to convince the property owner that, would you be amenable to having a different entrance or exit? This is the completed one that I mentioned at 133rd. Again, there is a a little fence. There are 2 parking spaces. You can see there's 1 vehicle parked. So pretty simple. There's still mostly grass other than this walkway. All of them would have some sort of, a bench or 2 for sitting areas, but nothing much more dramatic, I would say, than what that one currently has. This is the 132nd, and actually this aerial looks like they were doing some work on it, interestingly enough. But again, this is another, a smaller one, not as long as the one on 134th and 135th, but it may look very similar to the one on 133rd. And 131st next to the
Coast Guard.
Coast Guard Auxiliary, and the Coast Guard Auxiliary is, where is the Coast Guard Auxiliary?
To the left, well, to your right.
This structure right
Yes.
here? This structure.
Yes.
And so this is the area which this one has the largest number of utility covers, for lack of stormwater utility, actual lids and other items that we'll have to work around. We're not going to remove them. We're not going to cover them. We're simply, again, like one of the main goals is just to beautify these and keep them as green and as pervious as possible. And the last one here at 132nd is, again, a pretty, almost as long as the one on 135th. However, the south side of this right-of-way has been historically utilized by these properties here as essentially overflow or actually regular parking for their customers. This isn't overnight or short-term rental accommodations. And so they have been using space. They're not marked. It's pretty much just shell and rock right now and dirt, but they have been using that as a parking lot. Our idea, our goal is to continue to do that. It would just be improved, enhanced, again, some pervious surface that would be that would be marked and lined for anywhere from 4 to 6 parking spaces on the south side, and really the north side of this would pretty much just be greenery as well. The drive in and out and along with the parking spaces would be improved, again, with some sort of pervious pavers or surface. This property owner would still have access. They currently go through the right-of-way to access a garage, and then this, I guess, west side of their property as well. So again, we're not eliminating anyone's access. It's to beautify, to improve, but to keep it just simple and add some benches, clear up a few hazards. We will have an arborist look at a few trees that are impacting this park and I think 135th as well. So those are the kind of the concepts, the idea. Again, the item before you is simply to approve the approximately $19,000 to have an engineer, architect kind of come up with the designs, the concepts for what these parks might look like. And also we are, as we discussed at the workshop, we are not recommending adding any type of kayak or other type of marine launch areas. Those would be rather expensive. On some of these, we would need permission from the adjoining properties to be able to extend some type of dock or access, or kayak or paddleboard type launch. I think these are primarily for the residents in the neighborhood, for their enjoyment to walk, rather than to have other people go through there. Of course, we're not going to restrict people from using it other than beachgoers if that's where they want to park. That's not really the area for anybody wanting to go to the sand to park in this neighborhood, reason why there are restrictions on the streets for residential permit and other parking. So I think, Megan, if there's anything else to add, that's the item before you.
Nope, I believe you covered it all. We will get one preliminary design before we go into the final. So when we do receive that, we can bring that back before you and see if there's any changes you all would like to see before we go through with the final.
Megan, can I ask a couple of questions?
Sure.
Sure, just mostly also comments. Of course, this is my district, so I'm thrilled to see this happening. And Mr. Gomez says permeable. Are we talking water permeable pavers?
We are.
So-
Pavers, or there's another product that's out there that we've been looking into. It's called FlexiPave. It's more of like a rubber type of product that kind of flexes a little bit more, especially where we have those tree roots, because there's a lot of rooted trees near
Great.
most of those places.
And I think 133rd is not, those are not water.
No, those are
right?
not.
So they're not going to be like that. Great, great, thrilled to hear that. Second, in the park that is completed, as you know, there's a circle with a tree in it,
Mm-hmm.
right? I don't think our Public Works people are planting things there intentionally, is that right?
We have in the past. We put that tree there.
The
There
tree
used to
there,
be-
but
There's
it's-
some plants that are in there from Deb whenever she was here.
From,
Deb Laramie, before she
Previous
retired, the previous park
So we did
supervisor.
put some of those plants
did.
in
some of
there.
those wildflowers were in there, which,
Yes.
But we do have a lot of residents that feel as though they can plant
Right.
items.
So my comment was, I've talked to my residents about that. We'd love to see, at least in one of them, and I don't know how feasible this is, the possibility of a community garden or an enclosure where people could plant things. It would not be the responsibility of Public Works. It
Yeah,
would-
we can
and- And I've seen sunflowers and wildflowers grow in there for the last few years. And
That
it's-
was Deb.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, they're still there. And I'm just relaying to you what the people in the neighborhood would love to see an opportunity. If all of them, that would be great, but at least one of them where a community garden could be integrated in the plans for that pocket park.
Do you have a specific one that you're looking at? 135th is the
I think the-
largest.
My suggestion would be for the engineer architect to look at 135th only because it is the largest.
Sure, that makes sense.
And the historical, I guess, family owns, the Archibalds own the house to the south. I think they'd be supportive. I'm just kind of
I agree.
speaking with them a
That
couple of
sounds-
times.
I
but-
would have just said off the top of my head, the largest one. So if
Okay.
that's it, that's the one. Thank
Absolutely.
you, that's all I wanted to say about that. Thank you for moving forward with this project.
Of course.
I have just a few comments. First, I want to personally thank the Public Works Director and City Manager for allowing me to take a long time out of your day the other day where we physically walked every park. That means a lot. The second thing I'd like to say is the fact that the city manager said for the record that we want to work with the residents, that we're not going to go out there and potentially do things that, it's going to have to be an amicable solution for all. And to put that on the record, and we know people are watching this online, says volumes. Thank you.
Absolutely.
I have a few questions.
Sure.
So then tonight's vote is strictly on the engineering,
Correct.
okay? That sounds great. I was looking at the $7,400, which is a pretty big piece of this being the survey, which is great to have. It's only $1,500 per park, so that seems very reasonable. So when you take that piece out of it, everything else becomes reasonable. At first glance, it seemed a bit high to me. Now, I'm a bit concerned about any specific residents claiming use of those parks versus all the residents. So the one property that is the entrance to the driveway, I understand it's probably been that way for decades. So I understand that. And then the other one, as far as business parking, that's not why we're investing in the property. It's for the enjoyment of all. And mainly, I would think the residents, the many residents that do not live on the water, that they have a place to walk and sit on a bench and drink a cup of coffee or take their dog, or, so that, if that were parking, that takes that away from them. I don't feel that it's justifiable for a single resident to have such a great use of public property.
It's been utilized as parking for decades, but we're not removing, we're not altering any part of it to take away anything than what is currently there. But I understand your concern.
I understand it, but just because you've been using it doesn't mean it was right. But it doesn't mean you don't pay taxes on it for that property for your business. I think in the description, it discussed irrigation. I think that's wonderful, and the city does mow, correct?
Correct.
So, you know, we irrigate and we get nice grass, we don't have to worry about it getting overgrown, so that's wonderful. So ultimately, I will definitely vote to approve this, but I just want those comments to get in everyone's head, and I'm going to take it one step further, and it would be addressed separately. I'd love to see some irrigation in Teardrop Park. All that new sod was put down, and it's burning up, and it wouldn't take a bunch of engineering, but separately, maybe we can get an RFP for that and have that as a
We can
discussion.
take a look at it and see how much, see if the infrastructure is there for the irrigation, because if it is, then it will be much cheaper. But it will cost probably every bit of $30,000 to put irrigation in Teardrop Park.
If it doesn't, if the sod isn't all burnt up, maybe it's a nice piece of property and
We can
there's a
definitely
lot of
look at it.
enjoyment.
Sure.
So I bring that up separately. Thank you.
Any other commissioners have comment? Public comment on this subject? Come forward.
John Hendricks, 569 Normandy Road. Seems funny to be on this side. I wanted to bring up a couple of things. One, there was a discussion about whether or not we were going to put pavers in there. And I've spoken to many residents. Most of them want the grass there. Another thing, we had a lot of talk about surface area ratios. And people fought about the surface area ratios. Now we're wanting to put pavers in parks that presently have grass. Makes no sense to me. We're talking about spending $20,000 for the design and whatnot of this. What we really need to do is have good maintenance in there. I agree, I think they need some irrigation, but I think that money can be better used to maintain what we've got. There's a park on Island Drive, and I've brought it up to our Public Works Director before. Years ago, I complained that trash wasn't being cleaned out around the bushes and whatnot. So what did the city do? All the bushes that they had spent money on, they ripped them out. There was a sprinkler system there. The sprinklers, because of the timers, because of power failures, got to where they were on during the day and off during the night when they were supposed to be on. So what did they do? They ripped out the sprinkler system. There were lights on the palm trees. Again, the timers got the lights to where they were coming on during the day, and kids would bend the light heads off in another direction. So what did they do with the lights? They ripped the lights out. So the park that the city spent a lot of money on is nothing but gravel now. Big pieces of gravel like that are all over the sidewalk. I'm waiting for the city to have a lawsuit from somebody tripping. And I'd like to see that park cleaned up some too. But I think we really need to look at, rather than redoing all these pocket parks, let's just maintain them and see how it goes from there, because what we don't need to do is pave over more of paradise. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a question. What is the intersection on Island Drive where this park is you're talking about?
It's the causeway that goes from South Bay
40.
Shore to Normandy Road.
Okay.
It's pretty much the only landscaped area on Island, publicly landscaped area on Island Drive.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Any other public comment on the Pocket Park? All right, well, we're missing a person at the moment.
While we're waiting.
Chuck Dillon, 529 Lillian. How did these come about? I mean, you know, and it's just like David, you know, he's very happy, 5 parks in his neighborhood. Why do they get special treatment necessarily? You know, and like as John said, you know, it's gonna, you know, and Ray, I don't know about the watering in the island, good idea. But the way I understand also that grass was supposed to be that way. It's like a wild grass, doesn't really grow, so they don't have to maintain it much. But I think also, basically, I kind of agree with John now. I'd say table the $20,000. That could be used better, and maybe get together with the Public Works people and see what you can do to improve what's there. Thank you.
Thank you.
If approved, would we have, I believe we would need to set up a opportunity for for public comment on what the design would need to look like.
We would bring that back to you.
I have to ask this question, how many other parks are similar to what the Mr. Hendricks brought forward, where there's issues that where they haven't been maintained, and are there more than the one on Crystal Island, is my question.
So, yes, the city back in however many years ago spent money to redevelop different medians, pocket parks. The reason why this is before you is because the previous commission wanted to see the pocket parks upgraded. Well, we can't upgrade just simple grass that's there. From what the direction that I understood was that we wanted to increase and enhance the park. So what we brought before you and what we budgeted was $125,000. What we had gotten quotes for was exceeded the amount, which is why we needed to get engineering in order to bid out to redesign, which is typically when you do a park redesign or an upgrade, it does get engineered. All of the medians along Gulf Boulevard, 150th, those were all done. Do we have a lot of green spaces in the city that look very similar? Absolutely. They are mostly grass and palm trees or some sort of tree. Island Drive is a bunch of bushes and sea grapes and palm trees, and yes, there are rocks rather than grass, but that does get flooded often. So grass doesn't typically grow in areas that are flooded, which on Flamingo Drive as well, one area is grass, which is dying, and then one area is shell, which is shell. And is it simple? Yes, but when you have flooded areas, it's easier to maintain and make it look better rather than having dead grass. So, I mean, we can send you a parks inventory, which is very old, so it's a little bit outdated, but we are constantly looking at upgrading and making our parks look better. Harbor Drive is a prime example of that. That area was a bunch of bushes that were not properly maintained. So when something's not properly maintained, you can't maintain it to make it look better. You have to almost start fresh, which is what we've been working on doing. So Harbor Drive, we took everything out. We replanted it. We planted shell, and it's very simple, very pretty, very easy to maintain. So that's what we're going towards.
Another example here outside of City Hall, as you go down the stairs to the right, out underneath us here, next to the water, that's just some newer landscaping, the bromeliads and the cactus that are a lot less into the future, but simple, somewhat elegant. The Archibald
Yes.
crosswalk across Gulf Boulevard into Archibald Park in front of the snack shack, that was just a lot to maintain as it grew over the years, and now much nicer. People have commented to me, I didn't realize, now I can see the snack shack much easier than before. We've done some at the public access points along Gulf Lane from 130th to 136th. There's more that we will be doing, but there's ongoing maintenance. But some of those have been redesigned again for an enhancement. So once, if you're not constantly, maintaining, you end up with this overgrowth. And so now we're at the point where we took a step back, started again, and now are in better maintenance mode now that we know what, everything that's in there, and we can just take much better care of it over the next, 50 years.
Okay, some ideas I'd like to throw out there then. First, a question. With what Mr. Hendricks was saying, why wasn't the landscape being maintained, and who should have done it? And then why would we rip it out when it costs money to put it in the first place? Was this before your time?
This was before my time, yes.
Okay.
I was not the Public Works Director at that time, not under my control by any means.
Understand.
So I
then-
can't answer why things weren't properly maintained, but I can tell you that now we are properly maintaining.
Okay, so then, how can we make this so the entire city has buy-in? Instead of doing all of the pocket parks, maybe we can do some of the pocket parks and incorporate some of the other areas to where everybody in the city's got buy-in with this. Is that something that's doable at this point?
So we are working on that, but so we specifically budgeted for the pocket parks. Now, we did increase the budget amount for the maintenance grounds, which includes all of the parks in the city, not just the pocket parks, which is what we've been working on. So those are on a smaller scale. So those don't need engineering services. Those are as simple as planting a few new items, putting in some ground cover. Johns Pass Village needs a lot of love, I'm aware. We're working on that one. But they all have different budgets, so this one is separate.
All right, so then how about this? How about if it's okay with the city manager, set up a meeting with Mr. Hendricks, let's go to the park and let's address his concerns in a cost-conservative manner to revitalize that park and try to bring it back at minimal cost to where it's nice? Is this possible? We could set up a meeting?
Yeah, it's really Island Drive and Flamingo, as both have been stated, and we will certainly do that. I don't see any reason why we wouldn't, but it seems that the city decided likely to cut its loss by removing it. Now you don't have to, and I'm not saying that's the correct answer, but to avoid any future expenses. I've shared, I think, with each one of you, for example, the reflection pond out here that we're still working on and issued the RFP, and hopefully we'll get replies. But at some point, if we can't, that's a very different issue altogether. But we will certainly do that and look at it. We've been looking at all of them citywide, even from across next to the Publix entrance on Dumais Road and 113th, those medians, to the medians along 150th Avenue, to the medians along Gulf Boulevard that we maintain, to everything in the village. For a 2 square mile city, there is an awful lot of greenery and an awful lot of landscaping to maintain. So we're getting there. That's why we increased the budget. Reason we increased the budget here for this park, for Rock Park, so that it can be upgraded into something much nicer than what we've had before.
And to add, when we did projects in the past, I don't think that the city looked at longevity of plants, that looked at, for instance, the Coontie palms that were planted all over Archibald and the medians. They grow so large that you can't see the pedestrians. So at the request of the deputies, we removed those because it was a safety issue. If you trim those back, they are not pretty. They look terrible. So at the request, we make decisions based on public safety, based on, on maintenance or aesthetics. Most of the parks have not had proper love. I did let go our contractor for landscaping, and we brought that back in-house. So I have a better role over what is maintained and how it is maintained.
Okay. I think John wanted to speak again. Come back up, please.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention, I've been on Normandy Road since 1986. Commissioner Kerr drives Island Drive every day. To say that that floods is not accurate. I've been there 37 years. That does not flood at all. In fact, it goes up. Normandy Road is the highest street in Madeira Beach, and that area has never flooded. Now, just to the north of it at South Bay Shore and Island Drive, yes, that floods, but that's not that park, and that park, even during the no-name storm, did not flood. I've never seen it flooded. I just wanted to clear that up. Thank you.
John, I have time tomorrow. Would you meet me on site at 11 o'clock? Do you have time tomorrow and walk it with me?
Let me check my schedule.
Okay.
Okay.
Give me a call. I'll meet you over in the area at 11 o'clock tomorrow.
Okey-doke. All right.
Hey, thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, any other further public comment on the pocket parks?
I just wanted to make one final comment. Try to make all my decisions on how it benefits the residents and improving these pocket parks. My wife and I went over and made a specific walk in the area just the other night to meet residents and get resident input. And I think that improving those parks would be a great improvement for the residents that live in that specific area. I do really like the one that has been improved where if I were to visit someone over there and drive over, there's no cars that's parked on the street. So it's like, where do you park? I think there's two or three spots right there at the street and limit it so that people aren't parking back in the parks themselves is very beneficial. I would think for residents there, if they have company stop by or just someone wants to drive over and use the parks, but you see the dog walkers use it. You heard stories of people every morning with their cup of coffee on a bench, and it could be as simple as that. You put the bollards, a couple bollards, and some restriction for the cars or trucks, and a couple of nice benches, maybe just restrict the pavers underneath the benches. But regardless, we're getting into design, and we could be here all night on that. So I'm supportive of it.
I just have one thing I want to clarify. We're going to vote on this particular item, but are we agreeing that we need to look at all the other parks within the city in addition to this vote so that we're not leaving other areas? And if Megan is now doing the landscaping, that's probably something that can get incorporated in and some repairs made to those parks.
That's correct. Yeah.
Absolutely. This has got to be where we progress from here with the pocket parks, and that's got to go out all the parks in the city. I think that's a good way to go. I just want to make sure that, and I understand Mr. Hendrick's concerns about the grass. I could go either way with the grass or make sure that we're using a pervious product. We have enough water, or issues with water runoff. So it's either got to be a pervious product or grass. That unfortunately has got to be maintained also where the pavers are pretty much self-sufficient. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the scope of the work provided by HAF, as it says in the recommendation, without the CAIA permitting.
Second.
City Clerk, will you call the roll, please? Did you have something else to say?
No.
Oh. We have a motion and a second on this. Would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Taglerini?
Yes?
Commissioner McGinn?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Kerr?
Yes.
Commissioner Brooks?
Yes.
Mayor Rostick?
Yes.
Motion carried 5-0.
I have something I'd like to address real quick. We have a pocket park on 145th Avenue. The residents used to use that to watch the fireworks over the water. It's very small, it's very slim. We also used to have a nice bench there that was, it disappeared somehow, so that was a couple years ago. I'd like to see the residents get back to enjoying that little strip of land there that looks over the water on 145th. Thank you.
Can we get them a bench over there, please? Thank you. Okay, let's move on to new business, please. We have an appointment to the Planning Commission. City Clerk, could you provide us some direction with this, please?
Yeah, there's two applicants to choose from, which is Mark I can't really pronounce his last name, Pachiki, and Hush Gabi. Now, the commission could choose one of those, or they can also go back out for more applications. It's up to the commission. You should have, everybody should have a ballot, and you would choose who you want to serve on the planning commission, and then I'll take them up and I'll read them, tally them.
Okay, any of the commissioners have questions?
Are either of the candidates here? We can ask questions of them?
Yeah.
I don't see why not.
one
I
is-
see Mr. Hooch.
Mr. Gervais here.
I don't see why not. City Attorney, are you okay with that to have?
Absolutely. Mr.
Okay.
Gavayo is here.
And we always get them.
Okay, whoever wants to come up first. Thank you for your application, first of all.
Pleasure. Good evening. My name is Hush Govahi. I live at 423 150th Avenue, Unit 1206, Madeira Beach. I've been living there for almost 19 years. And I've been living in Pinellas County for 44 years.
Sorry, can you tell me how to pronounce your last name again?
Govahi.
Govahi, thank you, sorry. With a name like Taglerini, I'm used to getting my name butchered. I want to make sure I said it
I
right.
can't understand why that's an easy name.
Thank you for your willingness to serve for Madeira Beach. Can you tell me how you became interested in working on this commission?
Well, public service has always been really a part of my life. I enjoy public service. There's never self-interest in anything I do. It's always about my community and the people. So, I just love.
Great, great. And just remind you, just to let you know, these are questions I prepared for both candidates.
Absolutely.
I'm not, although these are specific.
I'd be
this
glad
one
to
is
answer
for
any
you.
questions you might
Sure,
have.
sure. Looks like you have 2 degrees in engineering. Is it bachelor's in electrical and master's in civil engineering?
No.
Sorry.
One electrical engineering degree and one civil engineering degree.
Okay, got it. You have 44, it says, you indicate on your application you have 44 years of experience in many of the areas that we consider desirable, such as zoning, future land use, drainage, traffic, utilities, and landscaping. Can you briefly explain or describe how you were professionally involved in some of these areas?
I'll be glad to. I started in 1979. I moved to Florida in 1979. I had moved from Vermont to Florida. So from that point on, I worked for a surveying company, then engineering companies, and ultimately in 1989, I started Northside Engineering. So Northside Engineering was founded by myself in 1989, and we have developed many projects, high-rises, shopping centers, schools, libraries, have done a lot of municipal work, have done a lot of work for Pinellas County School Board projects. I'm going to say close to like 5,000 projects if I have to count them. And every one of them require zoning, adhering projects to zoning regulations, land use, drainage, utilities, such as water, sewer, fire, landscaping, access, things of that nature. So,
Great.
yeah.
Thanks.
And I've been involved with every project personally. Tom knows that.
Do you own any businesses on Madeira Beach?
I do not.
Do you not?
My business is in Clearwater.
Is in Clearwater?
Yes.
Are any of your family members or businesses involved in any way in any projects or developments that are currently in progress on Madeira Beach?
No.
Do you have any, or have you ever had any professional involvement with any development projects on Madeira Beach which would be impacted by decisions or recommendations made by the Planning Commission, for example, the Johns Pass Activity Center designation, the City Comprehensive Plan, the Madeira Beach Town Center Plan? Have you?
In the past, I have. In fact, we did the Marriott Hotel up here. The residence that I'm living in, we developed. We did, we've done a bunch of engineering projects in Madeira Beach. But I want to just go on record to say that I will never do any work in Madeira Beach as long as I am a part of the, community. So.
Well, that just leads me to the last question. If you were appointed to this commission, would you recuse yourself from discussions or votes regarding projects or development plans which could impact you, your family members, your businesses, or a business with which you are in any way affiliated?
Absolutely. Again, it goes back to being selfless and not having any self-interest in what I do. It's about public service, giving back to the community. I will commit myself to saying that, I will never do any engineering projects in Madeira Beach, and if there is an issue, I would recuse myself in voting yes.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, sure.
Those are all my questions.
Thank you. Anybody else? Thank you.
My pleasure.
Next applicant. Not here?
He's not present.
Oh, okay.
He hasn't withdrawn, he's just not here.
No, he's not present here tonight. I mean, I'm not aware of it. I don't know if the clerk may have, I don't know, did you receive that the other applicant had withdrawn or?
No, he
No.
did not. He just didn't show up. He could have had other plans.
Mr. Mayor, personally, I know of at least one other person who may have applied, but didn't do it in time or just didn't, for various reasons, didn't apply. Is it possible to extend the window to receive applications? Obviously, that's up to the board. We have to.
Let's
vote
ask
on
the
that.
city attorney for his opinion on this. Could we extend it for 30 days?
You've got complete control on who and when you're going to appoint to that commission.
And especially ask them to please attend, so.
Not to discount the one occupant who took the trouble to be here.
absolutely not.
Not at all. Just, I'd like to see, I don't know, a larger pool, maybe?
So I have a comment. How long has this been advertised, Clara?
Several.
We've been advertising since December.
Okay, so since December, we've been advertising. We have two candidates. They were both invited to come here tonight and speak. I think we should vote. I think it's disrespectful for the candidates that applied to say, no, we're going to wait on somebody else. There's been plenty of time.
I would have to agree. I didn't realize that it had been advertised since December, and we're now into, the fourth month? I would have to agree with what you're saying.
Didn't realize it had been advertised since December. I thought it was just since March.
No, it was since December. Once Commissioner Brooks was qualified, and even though she could serve until she was elected, before Election Day, we went ahead and put it out there because sometimes it takes longer to get an applicant.
Where was it advertised? Let's ask this question.
Well, we put it out in the city manager's report every month, and we would continuously make copies for the building department because a lot of people go down there and up front.
Okay, so this is not like posted in a readily accessible location on the city's website, though.
Correct.
It was, okay.
Yeah, it was on our website
And
since
posted on
December,
our bulletin board.
and our
two
bulletin
places.
board.
Well, I would have to side with Commissioner Brooks on this. I mean, it just makes no sense that if this has been advertised for almost 4 months, it would be a disservice to the applicant that's here and has answered all the questions. Oh, I guess we can have public comment.
You've got 3 of the members that are due on 9 this month, this year. So September, 3 of the members are going to be up for revote. So if you postpone this, you're going to start getting into real trickiness. That's my
Absolutely.
opinion.
Hey, thank you. Well, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Do we have a second?
Well, I need to know what the motion is.
Thank you.
So is
With
the,
the vote.
or you just want to go forward with the vote, then what you can do is you can just do your votes on the ballot that you have in front of you,
Okay.
and then pass it down, and then the city clerk will tabulate and then tell you what the result of the vote was.
And write your name on the ballot.
Don't we need to vote on whether we're going to move forward or not and then do the vote?
It's already on the agenda.
It's already on the-
It's
okay.
presumed that you're going to address it today.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. I have Vice Mayor Kerr voted for wait a minute, hold on, I got it. Gahahi, correct?
Guvahi.
Gabahi.
Guvahi.
Pretty good. Commissioner Taglerini, Gabahi. Commissioner Brooks, Gabahi. Commissioner McGeehan, Gavahi. Mayor Rostick, Gavahi. Voted 5-0 for Gavahi.
Thank you. You're welcome.
And someone from Community Development will be contacting you and letting you know when the meetings are and prepare materials for you. And also, we have a laptop at the city that will be prepared for you.
Okay, next is item 14, staff reports.
Just from the city manager's office, just want to invite folks out to upcoming events. April 22nd is our annual Hurricane Expo event that will be held here beginning at 10 a.m. We are we're combining it with our Sea Turtle Nesting Expo to impart information on May 1st, the start of sea turtle nesting season here on the coast, but also remind folks to begin to prepare for the hurricane season, which begins June 1st. So that event is here April 22nd, 10 a.m. to noon, and lunch will be provided for all attendees, so hope we can get a few thousand people to come out. That would be great, and lots of vendors will be here to discuss hurricane preparations, to how to care for sea turtle nests that you may encounter, anything like that out on our sand, and keep our sand, leave no trace. And then the following weekend is the 30th King of the Beach fishing tournament event here at our park, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, the 27th, 28th, and 29th of April. So encourage folks to come out and see the fish, see them weigh the fish on Saturday. It's a very interesting, but there's lots of vendors and other activities Thursday and Friday, musical bands on Friday and Saturday out here at ROC Park. And welcome to our new mayor and commissioners, your first meeting. Very much appreciate your time, your service, your commitment. And so far, we're only on starting the third hour, so it's good. It's not.
Thank you for your support.
You're welcome.
All right, item 15, agenda setting for the April 26th workshop. And just note that we have the budget workshop starting at 4 p.m. And then from there, that'll progress into the regularly scheduled agenda, or I'm sorry, workshop. And then we have numerous things on here. Resolution approving the membership plan, reappointment for Pinellas County MPO Ford Pinellas. Modifications of the BOC policy handbook, if anybody has those. You want to make any adjustments to that, you can obtain a copy from the city clerk in an editable format. And then there's something interesting here, use of the city-owned fitness facility. And then we have the W&A cleaning contract, third and final amendment. We have the refuse truck modifications and container purchase. RFP city attorney contract services, RFP engineering contract services, or hiring engineer personnel to perform services in-house. I would like to know with that, how much are we spending every year for an outside source versus how much it would cost to hire someone in-house, if that's possible. That way, a comparative analysis of where the money and how much is going to have to be spent either way. And then we have talk about RFP for IT contract services or hire IT personnel to perform services in-house. Well, the same questions would apply there. Item I, we have the FEMA community rating system. And I'm not sure who's going to talk about that, maybe the city manager?
Or community development.
Community development, okay, thank you. Item J, increase in notice requirement for development agreement application, ordinance 2023-09. Letter K, amendment to Chapter 110, alcohol beverage permit application, ordinance 2023-10. Then we have amendment to LDR, definition of portable sign ordinance, ordinance 2023-12. And then we have item M, LDC, rental of residential amenities, ordinance 2023-13. And then N, city manager's monthly report, March 2023. And then the two things that I have that I would like to add is possible amendments to ordinance 2023-08. There's a couple potential changes I would like to see, and obviously we need to have a discussion about it. And then, obviously, the discussion relative to the finance director being in-house employee versus what the vote was, and just get the commission feel of how we need to proceed with that. Whether we need to start with a town hall, meet with people, I'm open to all discussions there. Do any of the other commissioners have anything, items they'd like to add that we need to talk about?
No, just that, I'd like to get the town hall put together for the finance director. I think that's a volatile as a topic.
Hot topic.
Yeah, there you go, as any development project. So we need to put it all out on the table and talk about it.
Okay.
That's part of that discussion.
Yeah. So I think that's it.
All right, item number 16, reports and correspondence. Anything from the Board of Commissioners?
No, Mayor, not from me.
City, oh,
I just had a question for the city attorney, if there was any updates on the state with the short-term rentals. Wasn't that up for a vote today at the House or something?
So I don't have that update for you, but I will do it in the morning. I will find out for you, and I will send everyone a quick email. If that's, I'd be happy to do that. Okay, we'll do that.
all right. City Attorney report, you have anything else for us, sir?
No, sir, thank you.
City Manager?
No, just again, welcome to the new ones, and I want to thank the staff as well for all of their work, and certainly always something new and exciting when you do get new commissioners, so I want to thank them as well for their kind of helping in the transition, et cetera. So again, welcome to the three, and definitely appreciate all five. Thank you for the continued support, particularly of our staff who come in here every day and to serve all of our residents, businesses, and visitors. And I think we've done quite a bit in the time that I've been here. Looking forward, obviously, do quite a bit more, but it is very appreciative for the commission's support. And whatever we can do, please let us know.
Well, you and your staff have made everything very seamless,
Good.
and it's very appreciated. City Clerk?
I would like to say I look forward to working with all the new commissioners, all five, and also I enjoyed working with the ones that, the outgoing ones, former Mayor Hendricks and Doug Andrews and Dave Hutzman. It was a pleasure, and they all did a good job. And I'm working on putting together an in-house ethics class, May, hopefully. I tried for April. May, someone would come out and possibly expand on some things that they don't normally do. You know, the ones that we do on the website each time, they usually pretty much cover the same thing, but there are other areas in ethics that we could cover. So I'm trying to get something, the same thing where you're meeting your 4-hour and plus answer a few other things on there.
And thank you for your support.
Before you adjourn, I just wanted to thank the commission for voting me in as vice mayor and the confidence. Appreciate it.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn.
Second?
Second.
I agree.
All right. Thank you.